Hey YouTube. 2003 marked 20 years since the launch of the Famicom in Japan, and 2005 marked 20 years since the launch of the NES in the United States. And to celebrate, in typical Nintendo fashion, they re-released some games. But if you think about it, 20 years is a long time to go by, and there's a good chance that newer game players didn't have a chance to play these re-released games. So why not re-release them on Nintendo's most popular system at the time, which was the Game Boy Advance. So today we're going to take a look at the classic NES series released on the Game Boy Advance between 2003-2005 and the Famicom Mini that was also re-released on the Game Boy Advance in Japan between 2003-2005. Okay, if you were going to define what a classic NES game was and what games you were going to pick to be in this re-release series for the Game Boy Advance, well, obviously Super Mario Bros. Would be one of the first choices. So this is the original Super Mario Bros. For the NES. It's not the re-release. But what you can see that they did do is try to replicate the original box art and packaging. And they did a pretty good job on the front cover. The back's a little bit different. The screenshots are different. The blurb that they wrote as part of a description of the game is a little bit different and updated. But for the most part, it's a pretty good reproduction of the original box art. They did the same for the other games in the series. I don't have them all, but the ones that I do have are Excitebike, Donkey Kong, Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, Metroid, Dr. Mario, Ice Climber, and Castlevania. And Castlevania is an interesting choice for the series. It's an awesome NES game. It's definitely a classic, in my opinion. But it's an interesting choice in that it was released by Konami, a third party, not by Nintendo. Most of the games, especially in the US release, were first-party Nintendo games, but Castlevania was one of the exceptions. So these are 9 of the 12 classic NES series games. I don't have the other 3. The other 3 that I don't have are Bomberman, Pac-Man, and Xevious. And all 3 of those are third-party releases like Castlevania. But these were the 9 of the 12 that I wanted to get for the original classic NES series released in the United States. So in addition to reproducing the box art, something else they tried to do to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the NES had to do with the cartridge. This is the original cartridge for Super Mario Bros. For the NES. And if you take a look at the actual Game Boy Advance game that was released as part of the series, you'll see that the color is almost the same. They did a good job at reproducing this color in the plastic cartridge. And if I put it next to a standard Game Boy Advance game, you can see that the gray color is much darker. So that is something else that they did to kind of commemorate and reproduce everything that went along with the Nintendo Entertainment System and its 20-year anniversary. Now this same series of games, the NES Classic series, or Classic NES series, I always want to say it the other way around. The Classic NES series was redubbed and repackaged and expanded considerably for Japan. And this original set is 12 games in total. Add 18 games for a total of 30 games that were re-released as part of the Famicom Mini version of this set. And we're going to take a look at that coming up next. Okay, now I don't live in Japan, live in the United States, but as I understand it, this Famicom Mini version of the classic NES series was released in 2 forms. You could buy each of the 30 games as a standalone separate retail package in its own box, or via Club Nintendo if you decided that you wanted all 3 sets. Each set contained 10 games for the total of 30. Club Nintendo had a special for its members, and that is the Commemorative Set. And it was shipped in a long box like this. Famicom Mini collection box. And on the back, I believe this would be a postage sticker. And the space for the address was left blank. I bought this online, so I have no idea who the original owner was. But I'm hoping somebody out there can please let me know what's the deal with these cats. I have no idea if it's the logo of a particular store or I don't know. It has nothing to do with Club Nintendo. But anyway, there's what I believe is some sort of shipping label. If we take a look at the rest of the box, it's obviously breakable. Please ship with caution. And just a little bit of information. A Nintendo website, Club Nintendo homepage in Japan, etc. So you open this big box up, and what do you get? But another box inside a bag. Unbox this further, unbag it, see a lot of pixel art. On all sides. And on this side, 20th anniversary family computer. So this part of the package with all of the pixel art is really a slip cover. You take that off. And you get another box. Again, Famicom Mini, 20th anniversary family computer. And there isn't anything else on the other side but the Nintendo logo. Looks like a book, but not with pages. This is some sort of foam core material. And you open it up, and you can see the 10 games that were released in this first set. Also comes with some sort of warning. Lets you know that this is indeed a box. And apparently that there is some special way that you're supposed to remove and insert the game boxes into the collection package. And there's also a certificate from Club Nintendo. And each one of the 3 sets has this documentation. So this particular set, the first set, is of family computer games, or Famicom games. They were released early on in the system's life, except for The Legend of Zelda down here. Legend of Zelda was released in 2 formats in Japan. First for the disk system, and then it was re-released eventually on a cartridge, as cartridges became cheaper and the disk system was phased out. So there are many more games here that were not released in the classic NES series in the United States. So I'll go through and name what I can. There are also several games that were released only in Japan, with names in Japanese that I don't dare pronounce yet. So if that's one of those games, I'll just let you know it's a game that was released in Japan only, and I'm not entirely sure of the title. We've got Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, Ice Climber, Excite Bike, Legend of Zelda, and Pac-Man. And all of these games were released in the United States as part of the classic NES series. As was Xevious. Mappy, however, was not. I'm not sure what that is. Bomberman was. Star Soldier was not. This is another one that was released only in Japan, at least in this set. I'll give you kind of a closer shot of the box art for all of these. There's also a plaque. 20th anniversary family computer with a picture of the Famicom. That changes with each set. And speaking of which, we'll go on to the next. Okay, the second set is appropriately named Volume 2. It's pretty much the same deal as Volume 1. A little bit of a color change from red to white, and there's a reason for that. I'll get to that in a minute. The graphic has been changed from the Famicom console to a cartridge. It's got the Pulse design, as all of the original launch games for the Famicom did. And again, 20th anniversary family computer. Same thing on the side. And again, we have the cats. Or neko, as I think you say in Japan. Open it up, and oh no, there's nothing in there, because I'm not going to go through the unboxing. Exact same deal. So here's the pixel art on the front side. On the side. Again, you're going to note one of the prominent characters on this one is Master Higgins from Adventure Island, which was by Hudson Soft, not by Nintendo. So that's another third-party game that was released in this set. Again, it says 20th anniversary family computer. There's Master Higgins on his skateboard with his helmet. And there he is again, biggest character on this box. So we'll take the slip cover off. Famicom Mini Volume 2. Nothing on the sides. Nintendo logo on the back. And again, it's kind of like a book. I took the documentation out of this one. So again, 10 more games. And they are as follows, to the best of my knowledge. This is the original Mario Brothers arcade-style game. Clu Clu Land. Balloon Fight. Wrecking Crew. Dr. Mario. Dig Dug. Adventure Island. Japanese game I'm not familiar with. A game called Twin Bee, which was published by Konami, and it bears a striking resemblance to Stinger, which was released in the United States by Konami. But I played it for a little while, and it is a shoot 'em up, but it's a little bit different than Stinger is. This one is more vertically scrolling instead of horizontally scrolling. And then a Japanese game whose name I can't read, nor with which I'm familiar. And the gold plaque is again the cartridge, 20th anniversary family computer. Give you a little bit of a close-up on the box art here for these. And we'll get into a little bit of an unboxing. Take Dr. Mario for example, because I actually have the original Dr. Mario for the Famicom. And remember, for the classic NES series, Nintendo tried to recreate the box art. Well, they failed miserably in comparison to this set. Take a look. Each of these games did a very good job of replicating the original box art. Every single one, and we'll do Dr. Mario for example, and keep in mind that this is for the Famicom, not for the disk system, comes in a plastic box. You open it up, and there's two more boxes inside here. You can see the first one doesn't go all the way, it doesn't fill it. And this is number 15. Each one in this set, I don't think the retail ones are, but each one in the set is numbered 1 to 30. Take out the tray, you're left with the clear plastic box. And coolest thing ever, they reproduced exactly, even on the back, the box art for the original, which I think is just cool. So you open up the box. Cartridge is not an exact replication. Instead, what they did for these is all the ones that were originally released on the Famicom. The front of the Game Boy Advance cartridge is that maroon color, and the back is the white color, just like the Famicom. It's a little bit reversed because on the Famicom the white part's on top and the maroon part's on the bottom, but those are the colors of the original Famicom console, not the cartridge. With the US release, they tried to mimic the color of the cartridge, but for these Famicom ones, they did so for the actual console. So you may ask yourself, where's the instruction manual? This is a matchbox size box. So obviously an instruction manual wouldn't fit. So what they did is they used a larger piece of packaging. So you open the top like so. There's a few bits of documentation in here. Just a little divider piece of cardboard. Club Nintendo card to register online to get more coins. I have no idea how many coins this set costs, by the way. Then the instruction manuals for these games, as we're getting used to now with the 3DS, is actually more of a fold-out poster type deal. So this is very different, obviously, than the original instruction manual for Dr. Mario on the Famicom, but it's cool nonetheless. And such is the case for every single game released in this set. Each of the 30 games has this treatment for the packaging. The third set is a little bit different. Up until now, sets 1 and 2 have been of Famicom games. Set 3 is of disk system games. And the disk system was the add-on for the Famicom in Japan only. It was released to cut manufacturing costs of cartridges because they were fairly expensive to produce at the time. And it was also released to create more of an easy and cheaper way to save games, as it was a floppy disk sort of medium instead of the battery backup that was necessary in a cartridge. A lot cheaper for Nintendo to release games on the disk system than it was in cartridge form. However, the disk system had huge problems with piracy and copying games in illegitimate copies. So eventually, once cartridge prices came down, the disk system was phased out, and it was never released in the United States. So a lot of the games in the Volume 3 of this set for the disk system were not released in the US version. And I would say that's where the majority of the 18 missing titles from the US Game Boy Advance set come. And we'll take a look at those now. Okay, here's the shipping box for Volume 3 of the 20th Anniversary Famicom Mini Game Boy Advance set. You can see the icon or the graphic for this set is the disc. As I told you before, these games were released all on the disk system, not on the actual Famicom. Again, it says Famicom Mini. And I don't know what that says. Maybe it says disk system, because I know this little guy. This is Diskun. He's like the little disc mascot guy, little yellow disc with eyes. So perhaps that's what that's talking about. Oh no, the cats are gone. This looks like a website from a store. Perhaps those cats were part of it. Oh, there's the cat. There's a cat. Okay, I'm assuming it's a little mascot for a store. Alright, sorry, I'm just obsessed with the cats. So again, Nintendo Co. Ltd, homepage for Club Nintendo. Same issue. Again, this box is empty. I'm not going to go through the unboxing, but all the documentation in the bag and stuff is in there. First set was red. Second set was white for the Famicom. Third set is yellow, because for the most part, first-party Nintendo Disk System games were yellow. So you can see Link is a huge character on this particular set. Got a Cloud from Super Mario Bros. 2. Samus from Metroid. Pit turned into an eggplant from Kid Icarus. Poison Mushroom from Super Mario Bros. 2. Again, 20th Anniversary Family Computer. There's Pit, not in an eggplant form. Mario crouching. And there are a bunch of icons from games that I do not recognize. Because like I said before, a lot of the disk system games were not released in the US because the US never got the disk system. So we'll take the slip cover off this third volume. Famicom Mini. And again, there's Diskun, little disk system mascot guy, 20th anniversary, family computer. Nothing on the side, but the Nintendo logo on the back. Open it up like a book. Same deal. Take you through the games. Super Mario Bros. 2, or Super Mario Bros. The Lost Level, the super hard second edition of Super Mario Bros. That was never released in the United States in its original form on the disk system. Game in Japanese, whose name I do not know. Metroid, Kid Icarus, or Palutena's Mirror. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Game in Japanese, whose name I do not know. Game in Japanese, whose name I do not know. Game in Japanese, whose name I do not know. Castlevania. And Bomberman. So 2 of these last games were released in the United States, along with Metroid and the 2 Zelda games. And then the plate on this one is, of course, the disk system for 20th anniversary family computer. Now, just as volumes 1 and 2 did a fantastic job of replicating the original packaging for the games, they tried to do the same thing here. So here, I have the original disk system copy of Super Mario Bros. 2. Disk system games were always in some sort of plastic box. And inside that plastic box was a plastic case with the game, a warning, and then the instruction manual, of course. Open up the plastic case, just like a floppy disk, if you remember those. That's what a disk system game looks like. Some of them were two-sided. The ones that had a lot of save data, like Metroid and Legend of Zelda, used both sides. And then there's a little protective sleeve inside there for the disk system game. It was a little bit tougher to reproduce the packaging for the disk system, but they still did a pretty good job. Let's take a look at it. If I can get Mario out of here, you can see what they tried to do. You just put all of this on a box and change the dimensions a little bit. Same sort of packaging as the volume 1 and 2. Got the plastic outer box. Super Mario Bros. 2 is number 12. I'm sorry, hello, 21 in this series. Take it out. And then you have your box that's doing its hardest to replicate the original packaging. I think that's the coolest part. They basically just scanned the back of this and then included it there. But it's all just a cardboard box. So, open it up. And we have a yellow Game Boy Advance cartridge that matches the yellow of the disk system. The instruction manual for Super Mario Bros. 2 was a little book. Let's see what they did for this re-release. Just like the other games, all the documentation and manuals was in this bigger part here. Remove the separator in the Club Nintendo form. I can't register on Club Nintendo Japan, but I'm still going to cover up the number. And then the instruction manual, which has been relegated to a poster. A little bit different. This is more of a matte finish paper. The one for Dr. Mario was glossy paper. But again, I'm assuming these instructions are just as comprehensive as the original booklet. And that's pretty much it. The other day I did an unboxing video for the gold nunchuck controller, and I lamented the fact that the packaging was completely lacking compared to what was made available in Japan through their Club Nintendo. The complete absence of packaging for the gold nunchuck controller. Now, this is another prime example of the cool things that Club Nintendo members in Japan get compared to what we get here in the United States. Certainly is a travesty for us, but there are certainly worse things in the world than not getting as cool of things from Club Nintendo. And if you have access to eBay, they aren't completely inaccessible. But anyway, I recently stumbled across this collection. It's been something that I've wanted for a while. Got it from a vendor online. He had all three. All three were in very good condition, and I made the deal, hey, if I buy all three of these from you, will you give me free shipping from Japan? And we made the deal that way. So, very happy to have all three of the Famicom Mini Game Boy Advance 20th Anniversary Famicom Commemorative Sets.